Welcome to the Robin Graham Show, the podcast for purpose-driven women who want to achieve sustainable success without having to be on social media. Hey, beautiful friends. Welcome to this episode of the Robin Graham Show. We are going to dive into SEO today, but we're going to dive in from a new perspective than what we have represented on the show before. So we've talked about SEO, we've talked about ranking on Google, we've talked about how that really does optimize your online presence, and you can use SEO as part of the foundation of your business without having to be on social media 24/7, which of course is what I love about it, but also being able to use it in a way that is going to optimize not only your presence, but your business. So we're going to kind of flip the switch a little bit today and talk about optimizing your business and optimizing SEO to go along with that business. There's a theory behind it, is what I'm saying. And today, Crystal Waddell is joining me, and I'm really excited to share her with you. She is another beautiful woman of faith, and she has two incredible businesses, and one of them involves SEO, and she is also the host of the Simple and Smart SEO podcast. So I encourage you to go and listen to her show after we wrap up here. The link will be in the show notes to Crystal's website and all good things about her. And with that, Crystal Waddell, welcome to the Robin Graham Show.
Hey, Robin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, this has been a long time coming, right? I was on your show, gosh, at least maybe 18 months ago, 12, 18 months ago. And here we are, finally. I get to share you with my listeners.
Yeah, I know it was a great time like to meet you, and I know that I was just so encouraged at that time because I was kind of new to the community of technology and just kind of finding my place in this world online, and to meet you, Robin Graham, as another, fellow believer. It was so encouraging to me because sometimes it can feel so isolating, not only as a business owner, but as a business owner and a Christian. And so you just made, it was just so encouraging. And I want to say thank you because it was so
Oh,
great to meet you, and it was so important for me in my journey.
oh my gosh, what an honor. Thank you. That is so sweet of you to say. I really appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, totally mean
Thanks.
it. And yeah, like you said, I've got a couple businesses. I work under the umbrella of CW Media Incorporated. And the reason I started in SEO is because I started with an Etsy shop years ago, about 10 years ago. And I got serious about it in 2020. But for years, I was making these giant photo props and different senior night gifts. And especially with the photo props, I realized in about 2018 that I was essentially giving them away. And what I found out was that I was selling them for, say, about $50. And by the time I made them and shipped them and sent them to somebody, sometimes I was actually making them for free or paying for it myself. And so after I got my price right, I realized, okay, I want to make, now I feel comfortable to expand it, because up until that point, I felt really uncomfortable. I was like, something's wrong. I'm not making money. I can't afford advertising, like whatever. So I had to get my pricing fixed. Once I got that fixed, I was like, now I'm ready to scale. And another thing that contributed to my SEO journey was the fact that I used Pinterest a lot to kind of promote my products on Etsy. And one day I clicked on one of my products, it took me to Etsy. And then guess what? They were showing Robin's stuff right underneath mine. It was like, you might also like Robin's version of what Crystal makes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like I did all of this work to try to create this graphic to send people to my Etsy shop, and they're promoting my competitors. And so that's when I was like, I have to make my own website. And that's how I started in SEO. And my original goal was that my own website would outperform my Etsy shop. And I've gotten to that point now. And so I'm very excited.
Now, do you still have the Etsy shop?
I do. I do. And I would, a lot of people ask me, they say, okay, if I have an Etsy shop, should I also have a Shopify? Or if I have a Shopify, should I close my Etsy shop? Some variation of those questions. And I always tell people, have as many as you possibly can. In e-commerce, it's not that difficult to have an Etsy shop and a Shopify store once you've already had one or the other. And the SEO advantage to this is that you show up in multiple places on that search engine results page. So whether somebody's searching for your business or they're searching for something that you sell, you have a chance to show up even more because you're listed on Etsy and your personal shop domain.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's similar to, because Etsy has SEO capabilities as well. But I think it's similar to, like, if you're on, like, you're going to have a Google business page, but you can also list your business on Bing, um, YouTube, Pinterest. And those are all SEO related platforms. So the more you have a profile out there on these platforms, the more you're going to show up in search results.
Yeah, I it's so funny because I always had done that. I'd always had multiple profiles, my same name across Pinterest, all the social media channels, Google Business Profile, Bing Places, all the things that you're talking about. And a guy that I had on my podcast, he said, "Oh, that's what a brand resume you have." And I thought that's a great name for it, and essentially that's what it is. So think about Googling your name and, what shows up when you Google your business name. So, for me, my business name is Collage and Wood. And so when people Google collage and wood, they're going to see a full brand resume across all of those platforms that you just mentioned, which is amazing on so many levels. But on an SEO perspective, again, it takes up like the entire search engine results page. And then on a user experience level, it provides reassurance to the person who's searching for me that there is a legitimate business here. They have a presence everywhere. So logically, it just reinforces this idea, well, they must be a good business if they're in all of these different places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like when you're traveling and you're walking down the street and you see these, two shops that have the same exact type of souvenirs or whatever, but one is pristine and the picket fence is painted, there's flowers in the flowers boxes, the lights are on, and it's just beautifully kept. And then the other one across the street is kind of drab and dark, and there's a slat off the picket fence, the flowers in the flower boxes are dead. Which one are you going to go to? You're going to go to the one that represents more professionalism, more care, more, like a pristine environment that is going to be inviting. And I think it's very similar to that.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, because I know we both share a love of SEO, but a lot of times some people will look at my strategy overall or see my presence online and they'll think, well, don't you use a lot of social media? And it's a tough reframing. I think it's kind of a paradigm shift that's, kind of disjointed to make mentally. But I believe that we should have an omnipresence as a business. And so my strategy has always been, no matter what the platform is, my business will show up the same way across all platforms. Mm-hmm. So whereas it looks like, oh, Crystal's always posting on this site and this site and this site, what's really happening is I'm posting the same thing across all platforms. And, I kind of grew up in the business of learning like, oh my gosh, it's so terrible to post the same content across multiple platforms. Mm-hmm. And, it's like you have to create and create and create. It's always got to be new. It's always got to be fresh. And I realized somewhere along the way that no one looks at our businesses with the critical eye the way we do. Like every once in a while, you might have a super fan who's like, I just saw this on Instagram and I'm also on Facebook and I'm also on Twitter and I'm also on LinkedIn, but rarely are you going to have a super fan following you around on the internet, noticing that you've posted the same thing on different platforms. So I use a social media scheduler. My primary platform to post on that I love is LinkedIn. Secondarily, it's Instagram. But whatever I'm posting on LinkedIn, you're going to see it across all of the other platforms. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of short form video. So that's perfect for TikTok and YouTube as well. And that way, when people jump from platform to platform, as we all do, because we're all consumers, they will be reassured that the same crystal and the same collage and wood that they find on LinkedIn is the same one that they're going to find on TikTok. It's the same one they're going to find on Pinterest, and it's the same one they're going to find on Instagram. So it's a fun way of doing it because you're not beholden to the algorithms. Like you can participate in like all of the social media platforms without bending the knee to what they're asking for. It's like keep your brand front and center, and you'll always remain true to yourself, and you won't, spread yourself too thin.
Mm-hmm. And we do the same thing. And for years, I've done that because I thought, you know what? This is going completely against my beliefs that I need to simplify. I don't want to be tied to platforms. I want to be able to do the work that I love. And we have done that for years in my business, even though all these social media managers were saying, do not post the same thing on the same content on different platforms on the same day. I was like, I don't know about you, but I don't have time to create all of this content and post it and strategize about what day it's going to go here and what day it's going to go there. So we've always done that. And it really does simplify. And I want to encourage the listeners to go to an incognito window on your website and Google your name or your business name and see what comes up. Because what should come up is a list, basically, in the search engine results page of you everywhere. And just see where you are and where you aren't, because then that gives you opportunity to create a profile. And like Crystal said, you can simplify this. And I think you would agree with me, Crystal, that the content that you create the evergreen content for your website and then it goes out to all of these other platforms. So you're not reinventing the wheel and you have a mainstay of where people can find you on your website, which is SEO optimized. And then everything kind of just flows out from there.
Yeah. And, I have an interesting perspective because on one side, I have an e-commerce store. And so that is essentially evergreen because I sell via season, so I'll have, football and soccer in the fall, basketball and hockey in the winter, baseball, softball, soccer, whatever in the spring. So that's evergreen and that's very easy to do. Now, with the podcast and the SEO services that I provide, that's a little different, and so for me, it's more about, putting out the content of my podcast on a regular basis. So I follow the same process every week with my podcast, and then I break it up into smaller pieces. And then, like I said, I just schedule it out to the other platforms. And then that way people can always find it. And two big platforms, or I guess mainly just one. Well, two. I guess you've already mentioned Google Business Profile as being a really great evergreen platform to use and utilize because it's a Google product and it's going to help you to show up in the search engine results pages, but also Reddit, because next time you're doing a search, look and just take note of how many forum results come up. So people are looking for that, what do you call it, referral or word of mouth. Like Reddit is like a word of mouth, insight onto whatever somebody's searching for or searching about. And so, even in my SEO squad, which is a small group I have for entrepreneurs, once a month or, twice a month, I'll say, we are going to take a break right here. And we are going to go comment on Reddit. We're going to make a post on Reddit, something to do with the keywords that we want to be synonymous with, so that when people are searching for information about that particular thing, we are popping up in relevant recent search results.
I love that. And yeah, you're right. I didn't mention that, but and if you're struggling with what content to create, Reddit is a great way to get ideas as well, related to your subject matter.
Yeah. And just this week, I had a podcast come out, Alyssa Corso, and she was talking about content refreshing and different things that you can do with content. And I have to be honest with you, as a solopreneur, who's, dealing with two businesses, I rely on a specific tool to help me do a lot of these things. Like you mentioned, we don't have time to figure out what time's the best time to post or whatever. I have a scheduler that tells me that, so it's drag and drop, let it do what it may. When it comes to SEO, my favorite tool is Surfer. And Surfer SEO really has helped me take out a lot of the guesswork of keyword research, of topical authority, of content refresh updates, letting me know what's performing well and what's not, what's moving up in the rankings, what's moving down, all of those types of things, what opportunities exist. And those are all things that are like SEO tasks that we typically would have to do ourselves. And as I talk to more and more experts from around the world, I see how powerful it is to find a tool that works for you, whether it's Surfer or something else, but that combines all of these elements of best practice SEO into one place so that you're not having to chase down different, SEO tasks over here and then try to put it together with something else. Like you want to really consolidate that so that you can work effectively.
Yeah. And there are other platforms too, like Uber Suggest,
Mhm.
SEMrush, Ahrefs. Like there's other platforms you
Mhm.
can use too. So find one that you find easy to use, that's user friendly for you and
Right.
fits with your business and your model. So, okay. So Crystal, we talked before about job theory. So making your decisions to optimize how are you going to optimize your business to optimize your life, and then optimize your website SEO to help that. So it's kind of like this linear yet up and down kind of relationship, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that and how we can use this job theory to actually make sure that our website's working for us to optimize our business and life.
Okay, so I'm going to stick with this example of the photo props that I sell through Collage and Wood. So I make giant senior photo props that every year they change. So this year it's 2025, next year it'll be 2026, 2027, so on. Okay. Like I said, when I very first started selling them, my price point was too low. I wasn't making any money. Now, I also make something called a senior collage poster where I take the pictures of somebody and put them on their numbers and, do this intricate design and send it back and forth. There's a lot of work and time involved in that. And so let's just say the poster costs $200, the photo prop costs $200. Once my prices were optimized, I had to think about, okay, what is really important to me. What was really important to me then and still is now is my time. Like, how can I get more time and space in my life to do what I feel like I want to do or need to do for my family, yet also still make nice profit margins? So when I took the comparison of the senior digital design poster product versus the photo prop product, I realized I spent a quarter of the time on the photo prop. So what that essentially was getting the photo prop from my contractor that cuts it out for me, put in a box, shipping it. So that obviously is a lot less time than an intricate design over here, right? For the same amount of money. So that's what I'm talking about when I say like optimizing your business, because you want to figure out what I call is your perfect product, because it's the product that you enjoy making that makes you the most profit margin and in the least amount of time. So once you have that perfect product, now it's time to optimize online for that perfect product. And that's where, just those traditional things of keyword research and all that type of stuff comes in. So for a photo prop, it's pretty easy. If I have a photo prop on a page, what is the job of that page? To sell the photo prop, right? And so I have to think about keywords, which, some people might consider like transactional or commercial in nature, but I want a keyword that is like buy senior photo props or senior photo props for senior photographers or something like that. Because, as you kind of work through this process, you'll figure out the best customer for this particular product is XYZ. For me, it wasn't so much just a senior parent because they're going to buy one time. My best customer is a senior photographer who's going to need these products year after year. So as I just continue to hone in on like optimizing for this product, those types of things reveal themselves. So it's like, okay, what keywords then can I find around senior photographers who are looking for photo props, like studio photo props, professional photo props, all that type of stuff. So the keyword strategy really then like kind of reveals itself, as you're realizing, oh, this is what I'm trying to optimize for. This is the target that I'm trying to reach. These are the things that they're searching so that they can find the product that I can, serve them with.
So you just mentioned what they are searching. How do you determine what they are searching? I think that would be helpful for the listeners to know.
Okay, so I think people would really appreciate this one because when I first started diving into SEO like years ago, my son was at a ninja camp up in Durham. And so my husband and I would go sit at Crabtree Valley Mall, which is a pretty nice mall up there, and we just sit around and wait all day for him to get out of his camp. So it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So while we're there, I was like, you know what? This week is going to be all about SEO and keyword research. My husband is a PE teacher. He knows nothing about SEO. So I said, hey, if you were searching for this photo prop, what would you write? What would you call it? And that's where I started. And it was probably the best exercise because it wasn't me saying, oh, this is what I make, this is what I call it. I was asking someone to take a look at my product and give me the words that they would use to try and find it online. And so from there, I just built out a keyword list. There are tools now that I didn't know about then. Like a free one would be Keyword Surfer. A paid one would be Keywords Everywhere. But let's say you start with your list from a layman of ideas of words that people might use to search for your product. Well, then you can go into a tool like Keyword Surfer or Keywords Everywhere and put in those words, and you can start to understand the search volume for them. So it's like maybe 1,000 people search for that a month. Maybe nobody searches for that a month. And so you just kind of get an idea of how popular those searches are. But then you can also put those words in and see what shows up on the page. So, there's multiple levels to this because just because maybe, this word could be a good word, maybe the actual search intent of that word online doesn't match up with what I'm trying to sell. So you always want to just go back to Google with the words that you've, kind of made a list of and take a look at what's showing up on that search engine results page and then see, do I want to show up here? And there's a few things I do after that, but I'll just kind of let that sit.
Yeah. So, okay. So because I've heard people say, like, if something has a huge search volume, you probably won't rank, or it'll take a considerable amount of time if it's got a ton of searches already and the search difficulty is high. So what is your philosophy on that? Like, if something has not been searched for, do you use it? Or do you only use search key phrases that are searched a lot? What is your philosophy on that?
Okay, so this is such a great question because a lot of people focus on keywords, whereas in the age of, like, let's say ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, all that type of stuff, not to get too technical, but it's like three-dimensional. It's like a three-dimensional search. There's so many factors that go into why something is presented as an option in these search engines. So to answer your question, let me back up. Okay. It's not so much about keywords as it is topical authority. So again, thinking about like what you want to be synonymous with on the internet. And I'll just stick with this e-commerce example because it's so perfect and it's so easy. But like say, I want to be synonymous with senior photo props, right? So, maybe one page is encompassing, like a collection page, is encompassing the largest search volume for a keyword related to senior photo props. But guess what? I don't have just one senior photo prop design. I have like 7 or 8. So I can then assign a job of, okay, professional studio props to this particular prop. And I could assign another photo prop the keyword senior picture prop, or another page class of 2025 prop. So if you have, multiple products, in an e-commerce example, it's really easy because you can kind of assign the keyword responsibilities to these different products. But the great thing is that they're all connected, and because they're connected, and if you can link from one to the other, and especially from a collections page in e-commerce, it's so easy, that builds the topical authority that this is about senior photo props, and it's insane how deep you can get on one keyword. It's like that's the umbrella, but there's so much more that you can really hone in on. And because you can tie all these details together and connect all these dots that point back to that main umbrella keyword, now Google, Perplexity, Chat, they see you as an authority on this particular topic. And so that's how you're going to pick up whether you have a word with small search volume or large search volume. If it falls under that umbrella of the topic, you're going to show up as the authority on that topic.
So it's really not about just looking at one key phrase and saying, oh, well, this looks like, okay, there were 1,000 searches in the last month, so I'm going to use that. It's really about using that one, but then taking it down or up a ladder, down a ladder, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the arms of the umbrella, so to speak, to go deeper. But now let me ask you this though. Like say you're a service provider, not an e-commerce person. And so you have like 3 offers, right? Do you create do you have to have a page on the site for each one of those offers? So you'd have like your service page and then a separate sales page for each one of those offers in order to maximize the SEO the way
Well,
you're talking?
I would think so. I mean, there's different ways that you can do it, but everything eventually has to be evaluated through the lens of search intent of the user and what they're trying to accomplish, the job that they're trying to do on the page, and then aligning that page to help them do the job that you want them to do. So it's like they're looking for a service provider, you provide the service. So, you want to make sure that this page is providing them an opportunity to buy the service, right? So if there are competing services, one thing I would probably do is if I had a services page, I would include the services on that page, but then I would have links hyperlinked on that page where you could click on each service individually that would then take you to its own page. So yes, that's how it would, that's how I would structure it for SEO, but also for usability, for your user. So one thing that I love about SEO for service providers is that it really comes down to then providing an experience for the customer and mapping out the journey. Because again, it's like, okay, what are they trying to accomplish? What is the job that they're trying to do? How can I align my website to be a resource to help them accomplish what they want to do? And then also I help them raise their hand and self-identify as someone who would benefit from the services that I offer. And so that's the fun part. And, because of ChatGPT and Gemini, this is something that you could do today and just, put in there like, hey, this is what I do. This is the type of person that I serve. Can you help give me some ideas on how to nurture them along in the process, like where they're starting and how they can get to the point where they need to hire me. And then you just kind of play around with the prompts, but I've done that with ChatGPT. It's come up with some amazing like quiz ideas for people to self-identify. Like I help creative entrepreneurs, but there are a couple different creative entrepreneurs. There's one that is like, say, an Etsy shop seller that's trying to go into Shopify. So their journey is going to look different from like, say, my corporate side hustler who's also creative, but they're not quite willing to leave their corporate job yet. They want to, build their side hustle for whatever purpose and reason they have, but they want to do it while they're working at their corporate job. So, being able to differentiate between your customers and the journey that they're on is really important. And then building like the content on your website that matches with their journey, not so much for SEO, but just because that's what, is going to give them a great user experience. Once you've given them a great user experience, you're also going to improve the SEO on your website.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, this is awesome, Crystal. Any last minute tips or strategies that people should employ? Or like you said, you gave them such a great idea, something they could do today to start working on this. Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
Oh, well, oh my gosh, I don't know. I think the main things I just want to make sure that people understand is that SEO is moving into, and already is, in a place of topical authority versus just keywords. So, and that means that, like, say you rank for one specific keyword, that's great. but you're never going to outperform a site that ranks for a bunch of keywords similar to that one that you rank for, and has topical authority. So that's one big thing that I want people to take away. Number two, utilize ChatGPT as a brainstorming partner. There are people that you could share your business ideas with, and they just might not get it. They don't get it. They don't think like you. They don't want to build a business like you. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong, but it can mean that you'll get disappointed if you share your dreams with the wrong person. So if you can brainstorm with ChatGPT or Gemini or one of these LLMs, you're going to come up with some great ideas. They're going to make your brilliance even more brilliant, So definitely do that. And just because a keyword doesn't have a high search volume, and a topic doesn't have a high search volume, doesn't mean that it's not a great topic and keyword for your business. Some of the best stuff hasn't even been searched yet. Like there was an old stat from even like months ago that said like millions, like 60 million or something, or half of the searches on Google every day had never been searched before. So you've got to take these keyword tools and different things with a grain of salt. Like trust your gut, trust your instinct, and build a business that you love. But start from a place of like, how can I build a business that I love, that helps me build a life that I love, that I just wake up every day and I can't wait to get started. That's where you want to start from. And then your SEO, it should be built to support that. So just make sure you're starting with, yourself, your end goal in mind, for an optimized life. And I think that's probably the gist of it.
That's awesome. Now, for somebody who doesn't know, can you just explain topical authority real quick?
Oh, yeah. So topical authority, again, it's just instead of having one article, let's say about SEO, since we're talking about SEO, I could have one article on my website about SEO, but guess what? There are so many different levels to SEO. You've got local SEO. So that could be another article. You've got even tool or like Google Business Profile. That could be its own article. You've got keyword research. That's another element of SEO. You've got technical SEO. Like what are broken links and how do you fix them? Like why are my images so big? Have you heard of the new web image format called WebP? That's something that's new. And, people think of, like why is my website loading so slow? And, the next content to next paint or whatever, I'm getting those terms confused, but why is this problem occurring? A lot of times it's because images are so big, but that could be another article under the SEO topical authority umbrella is image optimization. And there's so many different details that you could do there. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to write this article about SEO. Now I'm going to rank for SEO. Well, no, you're probably not, because there's so many different things. As you break it down, there you can go deep in multiple articles, and that's what's going to create topical authority.
And that's when you come up on a search engine results page multiple times, like because you have so much content related to that one topic that's then broken down, like you said, under the umbrella.
Well, that's a possibility. It's more that you're going to show up for a variety of searches
variety
related
of searches
to SEO. Yes. Yeah. And the brand resume.
Oh, that's content. Right. That's right. I'm mixing those up. Sorry, everybody. I didn't mean to.
Well, see, but that's the thing. There's so many different things of SEO that, to have topical authority, you kind of have to cover as many of them as you can. And that's where I think it feels kind of overwhelming. But, if you're creating for a person, you don't have to create. Okay, one last suggestion here. Okay, so let's say, and I just shared this with my squad last week. Let's say, you want to build topical authority, but, you don't have the time to build out all this topical authority in a blog and write like 15 blog posts. Okay, you could take one of those elements, like let's say Google Business Profile, and you could write a short blurb about it on LinkedIn. And then you could take, something about keyword research or technical SEO or on-page SEO or whatever. Take those elements and put them on different platforms. Then you'll show up, like you just said, on a search engine results page, potentially in multiple spots, because they're coming from different platforms. A lot of times for a search engine results page, even if you had the most comprehensive topic coverage of SEO and somebody searched SEO, they're not going to let you fill every search engine results spot. You might get the first one, but you're not going to get 3 or 4. So there's some ways to get around that with like image optimization and video optimization. But that's, kind of just an overview of topical authority.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so listeners, we're going to wrap up, but I want to tell you to be sure and go to the show notes to learn more about SEO, because I will link episodes on optimizing images, writing blog posts that are SEO optimized, and like the benefits of SEO over social media and a comparison of the two. So I will link those in the show notes. And Crystal, tell everybody how they can connect with you and learn more from you. Maybe even join the squad.
Oh man, we would love to have you in the squad for sure. You can find me over on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to reach me. Crystal Waddell on LinkedIn. You could also follow me on pretty much every social media channel, and that is at Simple and Smart SEO, or YouTube is Simple and Smart SEO 2. So I have 2 Simple and Smart SEO channels over there. But yeah, that's probably the best way to get me and get in touch. And I'd be happy to, hop on a call or share some resources with you, just to kind of get you jump started in your journey. But yeah, there's so much out there. It's so much fun. My favorite thing is just helping people grow their business in a way that feels good to them. And, yeah, however I can help, please let me know.
Awesome. All right, Crystal, thanks so much for being here. Listeners, if you found this information helpful, please do me a favor and leave us a rating and review. If you don't have time to write the review, at least click those 5 stars. It takes literally less than a second. But that's how I can get great guests like Crystal on the show and continue to reach more people and grow in our rankings. So thank you so much for being here. Please share the episode with a friend, share it on social. If you do, be sure and tag me. We'll be watching for that. And we will see y'all here next week.
And that's a wrap, friends. A heartfelt thank you for being here. I know there are many other ways that you could spend your time, so I truly appreciate you joining me. And be sure and visit the website, therobingraham.com/resources for a plethora of resources to help you grow your business for long-term success.